And we are live. It's your favorite insurance agents, DarnaldJr.
Michelle DeSelle, the Wealth Tattletale.
And
Good to
you
see
are tuned into FinLit Live. This is the show where we learn about financial literacy. And if you are watching live, go ahead and on the comments type hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, type hashtag replay. Also, let us know where you're tuning in from, like what town. We love to know where our audience is tuning in from. So we appreciate you for taking time out on a Tuesday. Today, we're just going to have a conversation about money. And so we want you to participate in that conversation. So ask us questions and we'll be happy to dive into any conversation that you want. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get lit. All right, so Doctor, we're going to have money talk today. So
Yeah,
it should be a fun topic.
it should be, but most times it's not. You know that
Right?
most people do not like to have that conversation about money. It's an uncomfortable situation most times, and usually the only people that like to talk about money are the people that have money, right?
There you go. I
So
love the phrase, people get funny when you talk about money, right?
when you talk about money, and across the board, it's a cultural thing for a lot of us. Across the board, we are uncomfortable with the subject. And in different types of settings and relationships and things like that, that's a taboo subject. And I think that we should normalize money talk. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the more open you could be with your spouse, and then the better communication and better relationship. Because there's a lot of divorces that happen over finances and money. So it helps if you talk about it and are open about it. So there's a lot of different situations that you can find yourself in. And if one's strong in finances, you tend to attract the opposite, right?
Yeah.
And
That's
so that's
interesting the way
when,
that works. It really is interesting the way that works. And we don't want to make it have the misconception that it's always the woman that's always spending the money and all of that stuff, and the man is so conscientious. Because I've experienced the opposite situation where I'm the person that's very money conscientious. I want to save, and then you may have that spouse, just because they know the money's there, they want to find a reason to spend it, right?
right.
So it can happen on both ends of both sides of the spectrum. That sometimes the wife could be weaker in the area of finances, and sometimes the man could be. But we tried our best to make a balance, and so we'll touch briefly on that. But there's some concepts that we really want to get out there to make certain that it's not the scary boogie bear that you think it is.
Right.
So one thing that is just such a crazy thing is that we live in one of the wealthiest nations in the world, and most of us have money problems. And most times that problem is we short of funds. We
Right.
don't have enough. Why is that, you think?
Yeah, I think we have such societal standards to live up to a certain image in a certain way. I actually saw a quote earlier, or it was actually TG Jakes. He was talking about how he's interacting with a lot of billionaires and they shop at Target. It's like the people that have the money don't buy the Gucci or all the fancy name brand stuff. They buy everyday, regular, plain old things. And so it's
Mhm.
the people that don't have the money that try to buy all the fancy clothes and shoes and cars and houses just to try and impress other people, when the
Yeah.
people that have the money, that's exactly the opposite of what they do. And so it seems like there's a direct correlation between that.
And that makes a lot of sense because we see that too often. And I think that there's so many variables that contribute to that mindset. And you mentioned societal, the social media, you feeling like you got to compete, that that society is setting a standard of what wealth looks like, right? They're setting a standard. If you don't have this, you haven't arrived. If you don't look like this, you haven't arrived. But I think a lot of times when it comes to money and wealth, it wouldn't hurt if some people, we took a little, a therapy session to just kind
Right.
of, just deprogram that train of thought. because it's damaging so many of us.
It
Y'all,
is.
excuse me, y'all. I'm at home, so I just want to be comfortable. All right. So we can be so damaging, that mindset till you're too busy trying to compete that you'll never acquire wealth because the mindset has to change, right?
Absolutely. It's huge. It's like a lot of times people want to buy the 30, 45,000, $50,000 car when they should really go out and pay cash for a car and have no note. Because
Mhm.
over the long run, you end up paying way more than the value of the actual car than it's worth. But if you bought a car cash, then you have it free and clear. You don't have to worry about paying interest. Obviously, if it's an older car, then you probably have to maintain it. But over
Yeah.
the long run, you probably end up saving way more money than if you were to buy a brand new car. And so, like, I have a philosophy where I never buy a new car ever. Like, I always buy used, even if I do pay for a car
Right.
with finance.
Right. And so to sum all that up, we have people out here with Pinto budget, but they, they have Porsche taste, right?
I call it the $30,000 millionaire.
Yes. So, so there's some things that we want to, to address when we talk about, we're talking about, the segment is money talk. So one thing that's important when you're trying to save money, let's say if you're in a marriage or if you're working towards marriage, sometimes when people are working towards marriage, they're already sharing a dwelling together. That and we're not going to get on the spiritual aspect of it because we know that's called shacking and we're not supposed to do that, but people are doing it anyway, right? So they're
Mhm.
trying to cohabitate and build a life together, so they're working towards that. But then, hey, I like to go shopping, I want to buy shoes, I want to eat at fancy restaurants, I want the designer dress, and then the husband is like, but I thought we were saving for a house, I thought we were trying to build an emergency fund. And it makes it complicated for the person that's on that that wealth journey, and you don't have the cooperation of your spouse or your significant other. How do you think that how would you advise a situation like that, Arnold? Because that, like I said, it could go both ways. It could be the woman and it could be the man when we've set goals and then we have somebody that's fallen off the wagon because they want to go and shop.
Yeah, I think the key is to have both the husband and wife in agreement and really sit down and be like, okay, where do we see ourselves in 5, 10, 15 years,
Mhm.
and create buy-in from both of the spouses. Because
Yeah.
if you have buy-in, then it makes it a lot easier for everybody to be on the same page. And then if somebody veers off that agreement, you could hold the other person accountable, be like, okay, these are goals, these are objectives, that if we keep doing what we're currently doing, then we're going to miss our objective. And so it's just really analyzing what you're doing currently and then readjusting accordingly. Because sometimes life happens. Sometimes you have emergencies that you can't really plan for and you go off schedule because of emergencies, because life
Mhm.
just happens. And so, but it's just a matter of analyzing where you're at and course correcting as time progresses. Because they say that, like a rocket ship, obviously, like if they're trying to go to the moon, guess what? They have 1,000 course corrections before they actually get to the moon. But
Right.
ultimately, the objective is always the same. But they're always analyzing. Okay, we're a little off, so make the thrusters go this way. We're a little off. Okay, make the thrusters go this way. But eventually, they land on the moon because they're always course correcting based on their current situation.
So the key thing that he said there was buy-in, and I like that. And that's key if you're going to come together and try and build that we you have to buy into the process. And so when we talk about the buy-in, and you mentioned having to take different courses of actions because things happen, and the important thing to note is one scary word out there is budget. That's a very scary word, and people don't like to tackle that because it entails so much and it can seem like a boogeyman. But
Mhm.
when we do that, we set aside a budget, we have to realize that no one month is going to be the same. Things are going to happen that you're going to have to, you may have to make an adjustment monthly. So this is one thing that I want to take the scary part out of budgeting. Name it something really fun. Give it a nice fun name where it doesn't seem so intimidating when you say budget. Let call it something fantastic like my best life fund, right?
The wealth game plan.
Yes,
My
exactly.
millionaire budget or
Right.
millionaire plan.
Yes, and then let's talk about the sacrifices that you have to make towards building wealth. Now, sometimes you got to keep your head down when you're thinking of a master plan when you're building. You can't be everywhere. You can't buy everything. You can't go everywhere. Certain things, but it doesn't mean that you cannot still fully enjoy life. You just have to do it responsibly and with intention, right? So it doesn't mean that you
Absolutely.
can't take that vacation. You just have to plan for it and make concessions for it. It doesn't mean that you can't get a car, but if you make concessions for it, and the advice that you gave earlier is food for thought. Let's go in a different way to get this car that we need, not that we necessarily want, right? We're
Absolutely.
covering needs here, not the wants, because you get the wants when you built this wealth and you made these sacrifices, right? And sometimes you have to you're not as visible when you're making plans, right? When you're
Mm.
planning towards building wealth, you make the necessary moves that you need to make, and sometimes you have to, and when I say keep your head down, you're having to build a strategy. Wealth is about strategy. Wouldn't you agree, Donald?
Absolutely. I love how Robert Kiyosaki puts in his book. He's like, okay, so if you had $100,000 in the bank and you wanted to buy $100,000 car, what should you do? Should you just pay cash for that car? He's like, no, I would take that $100,000, make another $100,000 with that money, and then that way you can use part of that $100,000 to pay for the car you want, and you still have the original principal. So exactly what you're talking about. You have to be very strategic
Mhm.
with your money,
Right.
and the key is to have your money make little money babies.
Yes,
And what I
yes.
mean by that is you have your money go out there and track other money towards it. So, like
Mhm.
if you spend 25 cents, get $1 back from that 25 cents you spend. And there's different ways to do that, like whether having started a business or
Mhm.
having multi level marketing that you're doing on the side, or some of the things. One of my friends, she's actually renting out her house on Airbnb. And so she'll literally leave for the weekend and rent it out for the weekend, and then she'll come back, live there during the week, and she'll rent it out on the weekend. And
Mhm.
so even though she's paying a mortgage, guess what? That money is making more money for her, and it's actually paying down her mortgage. And sometimes she actually makes more than the mortgage. She's actually making money off the investment that she has. So
Exactly.
that's huge.
And so let's talk about, since you brought it up, let's talk about some ways that people can actually, because we talk about wealth building and we want to make certain that we understand and that people are out there. How the hell am I going to build wealth? I mean, I hardly have any money. I only make
Mhm.
30,000 a year. I'm in between jobs. I mean, I hear you. Trust me. I get it.
Mhm.
So, in order to build wealth, you cannot build wealth without money, right? You gotta have
Right.
money. So, it's important that you protect your income earning potential, right? So, if you have that job, and it doesn't matter how much you make, it's how much you can manage to save,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So, but then if you only have that one income, if you're only spending from that one pot, that one job that you have, that can be a little sticky because your bills are already allocated for, right? So,
Mhm.
as he mentioned, why not start that little, side business so that you can have that extra money to make certain that you're putting in that pot, right? So
Right.
there's some ways. He mentioned about the Airbnb, and then another way is to house hack, right? Like,
Right.
if you have extra rooms in your house, and when you are in a certain area in your life, for instance, yeah, hey, if you're my age, you bought a couple of homes and all of that kind of thing, right? But then
Right.
also, you have the home that you bought for your family, right? My
Mhm.
situation, I bought this big house for my family, my three children, all of that. But then when you get an empty nest, do you still need all of that space just for you? No, you don't. So, well, I mean, and this works for, and a lot of people have done this. And I did it as well. You house hack and you lease those extra rooms and
Hmm.
generate an income that, so then that's extra money that you have. But luckily, when I did it, it was for family members, so I didn't have to worry about strangers. Whew.
That's huge. You gotta find somebody you trust.
Yeah. And so, then, some people do that until they have the house filled up and all that stuff, and then that's money you can make. House hacking, Airbnb is a way that you can make extra money. Come on, girls, you out there baking those cupcakes, make some money off those cupcakes and make them sell them. And I mean, and then you have men that have these special hobbies that they only do for themselves. If you're out there and you're you know how to rebuild, or a car, or if you know how to do body work, hey, put a price tag on it, right? And make
Absolutely.
the money. Hey, get your license or something. Hey, Darnold, I point this way. Darnold, yeah, you could get an insurance license and become an agent and maybe do it part time and generate extra money that way, right? You can,
Right.
there's so many different things you can do. Become a notary. Notaries, people need people to notarize their professional documents. We're always talking to business owners and everything. All these documents, they need to be notarized. That's one of the ways that you can, generate extra money. And, people are, yeah. What do you got? You got something else?
So yeah, one little known hack is a website called Turo, Turo, and
Mm-hmm.
Turo is where you can actually rent out your car on a daily basis.
I
And
heard about
so if
that.
you have a car that's just sitting there collecting dust, you can rent it out on Turo. People can rent it out for a day, and you can make money off your car. So we're
Yes.
in what's called the gig economy now, and
Mm-hmm.
there's almost zero excuses anymore.
Yeah.
And it's no
Absolutely.
wonder why all these employers are having a hard time hiring people now, because we interact with a lot of employers just with what I do on a daily basis, and they're like, "Yeah, we're having a hard time retaining people," is
Mhm.
because people could completely be independent of working for an employer nowadays. Nobody wants to go back to the 9 to 5 anymore because there's so many different opportunities now. Obviously, one of the things you could do, also, is start a YouTube show, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
YouTube will pay you a lot of money once you get your subscribership up and
Mhm.
also your views up. And so
Yeah.
there's so many different avenues to make money. I know one of my friends, she's making money off of TikTok.
Uh,
TikTok of all things. So
yes.
if you just love making videos and you love being in the public, then all these social media platforms, they're willing to give away money just for you to post content, which is awesome.
And one thing, we talk about different ways, to make money because we're talking about, um, building wealth. And most times people feel like, hey, if you have one income, it's like you don't really have any if you don't have other ways in order to make that. Unless your job is paying you a lot of money, sometimes you have to get that supplemental income. And there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, it's the smart thing to do because of some things, and especially like this time of year, things start slowing down, right? And so you want to be able to have, hey, you don't want to have to spend your bill money buying Christmas gifts. Get a side hustle, get a side hustle and start, generating money that way. But on your regular salary, one of the key things that you can do to make certain that you are protecting your wealth is to pay yourself first, right?
Absolutely.
And so, what does that mean, Michelle, to sell the wealth tattletale? Well, I'm glad you asked. So, when we say pay yourself first, you need to set aside at least 5 to 10% of your income, right? To save for the future. And if you could push out 15%, honey, you are doing really well. And this is the one thing that I love that Warren Buffett said when you're talking about your, saving money and things like that. One of the key things that you should remember, most times people that are saving money, they think, oh yeah, I'm going to pay my bills and I'm going to save what's left over. But that's not what you do, because Buffett says, don't save what is left over after spending.
Mm-hmm.
Don't save what's left over after spending, but spend what is left after saving.
Mm, that's
Right?
huge.
Yes,
Yeah.
after saving. We have been programmed to do this thing backwards. We need to
Mm,
retrain our brain to do it this way, right? And
mhm.
I think that if we talk about, everybody's that's the topic of conversation: money, 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 money. But we can't function in society. We can't unless we want. Yeah, you can be without talking about money, but
Right.
the alternative is to be out of doors, not having a roof over your head, and borrowing money. Now, let me tell you, I'm not one to be loaning, so don't be asking for money. And the key thing is too, buy only the things that you need,
Mhm.
right? Because we're in a give it to me now society. I want it right now. Ooh, that's pretty, that's shining, give it to me. I want to buy that. And it's the things that you want. So the things that you need are what's important. So Darnell, tell them what needs are.
Yeah. So, from my perspective, and I think even a biblical perspective, there's four needs: food, air, water, shelter.
Hmm.
That's it. Food, air, water, shelter. And outside of those four needs, everything else is just a want.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and those wants are dictated by our pleasure pain principle, but that's a whole nother subject for another day. Come to my Boost Your Sales Skills conference and we'll learn all about that. And so, but yeah, there's only four needs: food, air, water, shelter. And outside of those four things, we really don't need anything else. Like, you could literally survive, you could live.
Yeah.
So,
Because the
so
thing
you
is,
got to put those in your budget and make sure those are taken care of. And once those are taken care of, like, set aside money for your future.
because the truth of the matter is is spending money is a way of life for most people. And
Mhm.
they can't function without spending money. And so um, shopping becomes habitual. We do it out of habit.
Yep.
You pass by a store. Oh, I'm gonna go see what they got on sale in there today, but you didn't need to go in there. You know, you just going in
Yep.
there because it's a habit, just to go see what's going on, see what's in there and everything, and you come out impulse buying. You didn't need to go in there. You didn't need anything, that day, and so then it becomes a little addiction that you have there.
Mm.
I have a family member. She's addicted to any kind of new snack that's coming out. She will try it. She will, I mean, she will buy anything. I went over to the house the other day and she had chocolate Twinkies. I'm like, don't nobody get down like that.
Chocolate Twinkies. That's
Chocolate
awesome.
Twinkies. Yes, because, it was something new. She wanted to have it. But in a sense, that's a lot of money that wasted on new snacks. But that's her thing. It's a habit. She loves to do it. But when you're doing things like that, you really just ought to like, okay, how much money could I really save if I didn't have to have the newest purse, you know, the the new snack, or women, we love, I love, pretty makeups and all that kind of stuff or whatever. We get caught up on those things, but we can buy things on a bargain, but just because they're a bargain doesn't mean that you need it. You can still spend a lot of money buying all the bargain items, right? So, but it
Right?
was on sale. But did you need it? It was on sale, but you can still spend a whole lot of money and go broke buying sale items.
That's true. That's
And
true. That's why the dollar store is one of the most profitable stores out there.
yeah,
People think it's cheap, and then all of a sudden they have 20, 30 items in their cart, and who wins? The dollar store wins, right?
dollar store wins. And so, since we know that spending is a habit, but also, guess what else can be a habit? Saving
Saving.
can be a habit as well, right? And
Hmm.
we want to, change the mindset again. If you want to go in there and see what's in the store, figure out how much money you'd spend in there and save it instead. You'll be so
Hmm.
pleased with yourself. You would be so pleased with yourself. And so those are small changes. Those small changes can accumulate big money. And that's the thing. And it takes the pressure off of doing something so drastic. You just make those small changes and you'll see that it makes a significant difference, in your best life budget, living your best life budget.
Absolutely. And I just mentioned this at one of the conferences I went to this past weekend. Is like you can't, even if you make all these changes and you're saving a lot of money, guess what? You can't save your way to $1 million. We
Mm-mm.
just don't have enough time in our life, right, to
No.
save our way. So you're going to have to learn how to take those dollars and use it to once again go get money babies so it could
Right.
attract more money towards you. And that way you could really grow. And so with time, time is the best thing you have when it comes to growing your money, especially if you put it in the stock market. With time, your money will grow consistently, compounding interest. And
Mhm.
obviously, we're in a very unique time in United States history with the recession we're in, that we have a ton of jobs available, but we're in the middle of a recession.
Yeah.
Usually, when a recession hit, then unemployment skyrockets. Like we're in the opposite situation, which is kind of unique.
Hmm.
So, with every recession, there's always opportunity, though, and it's just learning how to open up your eyes and really seek mentors and seek people that know where the opportunities are in times like this. Because in recessions, there's always millionaires made. So you got to be conscious of what the opportunities are. So one of the big opportunities is one of the housing market. We're about to go down in the housing market. So if you're saving up money right now, go ahead.
Because I was looking at a headline today on Economy Examined, and it said that the Federal Reserve set to raise interest rates for the third consecutive time to fight inflation. You know,
Right.
and those are the we're dealing with so many different things that's going to affect how our money is going, what our money is going to do, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
we're coming up on, elections, and
Yep.
so we have to be consider, we have to consider that, making certain that we are going to the polls so that we can have the say so in who's in office to make decisions on what happens to our money,
Right.
right? And you mentioned, time. We had a great guest on our show once, and she said time can either be your enemy or your friend. And
Mm-hmm.
so think about, time is money. It absolutely is, because the sooner you save, the better, for your future. And so, yeah, you think in your 20s and your 30s and everything, oh, I'll do it later. You'll regret it if you don't do it now. I promise you will. Because you guys are the people that can see how money really behaves when it has what it needs in order to perform, and it's time. So, and that's so important that you're not procrastinating, that you think, oh, you'll do it later and all of that kind of thing. You don't want to be a silver hair being a greeter. Because
Fact.
most times something went wrong in the money department. Most people are not out there late, late, late at night, and they're a senior citizen by choice. They want to be in a warm house, getting their feet rubbed with some nice, cozy booties on, and drinking tea, and waiting for their grandkids to come by. That's what they want.
Sipping on some tea. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, well, if you're watching the show and you have any questions for us, join in our conversation. Just pop in the chat some of the questions, and we'll be happy to answer those. While they're doing that, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, you can get a hold of me on Instagram at the Wealth Tattletale. You can go to Centric Wealth, centricadvisor.com if you want to plan a consultation with me. And you can also meet me at my event on the 29th at 9 o'clock. We're going to do starting the No Money series. And I'll be, posting more information about that. But that's how you can get in touch with me. Well, how can they get in touch with you, Donald?
Yeah, so my website is DarnaldJr.com, so you can find all my upcoming events that are going on. You can reach me on almost any social media at DarnaldJr. So Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, my website, DarnaldJr.com. So there's a lot of ways to get a hold of me.
So I'm glad that we had this little chat about money talk. It was fun and insightful, and we're gonna see y'all again next Tuesday.
Absolutely. Yeah, tune in next Tuesday. We have a really, really powerful entrepreneur. She's a lady boss. She's so powerful, and you're definitely want to kind of pick her brain because she is doing it big. Super excited to have her on their show. Her name is Mika Diamond. Google her, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in today, and stay tuned next week as we get lit.